You failed the test. You know you failed. You walk out confident. You tell your friends, that was easy. You got a 42. You thought you got 90. This happens every day, in every classroom, in every office, in every country, on every continent. The least skilled people are the most confident. The most skilled people are the least confident. This is not an opinion. This is documented, measured precisely, replicated hundreds of times. In 1999, two psychologists at Cornell University discovered something that changes everything. Their names were David Dunning and Dunning-Kruger. They ran a simple test. They gave participants a logic exam, a grammar exam, a humor assessment. Then they asked participants to estimate their own score. The results were precise. The participants who scored in the bottom quarter estimated they scored in the top half. They were not lying. They genuinely believed it. They had no idea how wrong they were. Dunning and Kruger called this the double burden of incompetence. You lack the skill, and you lack the ability to recognize the lack. Think about that carefully. It is not just that you perform poorly. It is that the same gaps that cause poor performance also prevent you from seeing the poor performance. The skill you are missing is the same skill needed to evaluate whether you have it. You cannot measure what you cannot see. You cannot see what you have never learned. A person who has never studied logic cannot identify logical errors in their own reasoning. A person who has never studied grammar cannot identify grammatical errors in their own writing. The incompetence is invisible to the incompetent. Dunning explained this with a simple observation. When you're incompetent, you do not know what good looks like. You have no reference point. You have no comparison. You have no internal benchmark against which to measure your own performance. So you assume you're doing well, because you cannot imagine doing better. When you're highly skilled, the opposite happens. You know exactly what excellent looks like. You have seen it, you have studied it, you have internalized it, and when you compare your own performance to that standard, you always find it lacking. The more you know, the more you see what you still don't know. Dunning and Kruger published their findings in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. The paper was titled, Unskilled and Unaware of It. It won the Ig Nobel Prize in Psychology in 2000, a prize awarded for research that first makes you laugh, then makes you think. The findings spread far beyond academia, into boardrooms, into politics, into everyday conversation. Everyone recognized it in someone they knew. Almost nobody recognized it in themselves, which is precisely the point. The effect does not feel like an effect when you are inside it. To understand why this happens, you have to go back, much further than Cornell University, much further than 1999. You have to go back to the savannah. Your ancestors did not have the luxury of doubt. A hunter who spent 15 minutes questioning whether he was good enough to throw the spear did not eat. A leader who spent the night wondering whether his decisions were correct did not lead long. Confidence was not a personality trait. It was a survival tool. The ancestor who acted with certainty, even imperfect certainty, survived more often than the ancestor who hesitated. Your brain inherited that system. The default setting is not accurate. Self-assessment. The default setting is enough confidence to act, enough certainty to move forward, enough belief in yourself to try. That system kept your ancestors alive for 200,000 years. It is still running inside you right now. The problem is, the world changed. Throwing a spear either hits or misses. The feedback is immediate. The calibration is fast. Modern skills are different. The feedback is slow. The comparison is unclear. The standard is invisible. And the ancient confidence system keeps running. Regardless. A researcher named Joyce Earlinger at Washington State University extended Dunning's research. She found the effect was not uniform. It was stronger in certain conditions. When the task was unfamiliar, overconfidence increased. When the task was familiar, overconfidence decreased, which means the effect is worst precisely when you need accurate self-assessment most, when you're new, when you're learning, when you're entering an unfamiliar domain for the first time. That is when your brain is most certain and least accurate simultaneously. The beginning is when you feel best about what you know and know the least. In 2020, a meta-analysis by Gilles Gignac and Marcin Zajankowski reviewed decades of Dunning-Kruger research. They found something that complicated the original finding. The effect was real, but it was smaller than originally reported. Part of the pattern Dunning and Kruger observed was statistical. a mathematical artifact of how the data was measured. Called regression to the mean, this did not erase the Dunning-Kruger effect, but it made it more nuanced, more complicated, less clean than the popular version. The real world is rarely as clean as the headline. Here's the question that actually matters. If the incompetent cannot see their incompetence and the expert underestimates their expertise, where does that leave you? You do not know which group you are in. You cannot know. Because the very tool you would use to assess that, your own judgment about your own ability, is the tool that the effect distorts. You are using a broken ruler to measure whether the ruler is broken. Dunning himself acknowledged this. In a 2014 essay, he wrote simply, "The first rule of the Dunning-Kruger Club is you do not know you are a member."